welcome to next lecture. We will continue the same concept, longitudinal strain, lateral strain and Poisson's ratio. In generally, we expect whenever a body is subject to any kind of a system of forces, there is a change in dimensions called as the deformation. We think there is no change in volume, but there is a change in volume within the elastic or limit of proportionality. It is very important one. It means there is a strain in terms of the volumetric also. That is very important one. So finally, one scientist developed one equation, that is the ratio between the lateral strain to the longitudinal strain. Lateral strain to longitudinal strain. One is the lateral strain. One is the lateral strain. Second one is the longitudinal strain. The ratio of the lateral strain to the longitudinal strain is called as the Poisson's ratio, represented by nu. Here there is a change in length caused by the applied forces, tensile in nature, and there is a change in the diameter caused by the same load. Then up to certain value there is a change in volume also. For better understanding, let us take one numerical example. A copper bar of rectangular section. Keep in mind, this is a rectangular section. For example, this is a rectangular section of dimensions as shown in figure. Say, what is the section of 20 by 30 mm? See, means the breadth of the rectangular member is represented by B, which is equal to 20, and height of the rectangular member is represented by H here, that is equal to 30 mm, and a length of 500 mm. Length of 500 mm. This is L, that is equal to 500. This is equal to 20. This is equal to 30. To an axial compressed load of 60 kilonewtons. It is subjected to a load of 60 kilonewtons, compressive in nature. Compressive in nature. The Young's modulus of the material is given as E is equal to 102 kilonewton per mm square. What we have to calculate? Poisson's ratio for that is also given. Nu is equal to 0.34. The data is given. Determine the change in the length and the sides of the bar. And what we have to calculate? Change in length, that is delta L has to be calculated, and delta H is to be calculated, and delta B is also calculated. That is very important one. So, whenever a body is subjected to a compressive force of magnitude 60 kilonewtons, definitely its length is decreased and other dimensions B and H is also varies according to the nature of the load acting on it. Simply, we can calculate. What we have to calculate? We know that the relation nu is equal to stress, the ratio lateral strain to longitudinal strain. Lateral strain to longitudinal strain. It is very important one. Or for our convenience, it is also represented mathematically, that is equal to sigma L by sigma A. The longitudinal strain is also represented as axial strain, that is equal. Finally, therefore, epsilon L is equal nu times epsilon A. You know the nu. If you know the nu, if you calculate the epsilon L, you can find out the epsilon A. Or if you calculate the epsilon A, you can calculate the epsilon L. Initially, calculate the longitudinal strain. It means this is a rectangular member subjected to a axial loads of magnitude 60 kilonewtons axially. The strain caused by the axial loads compressive in nature results the change in length, that is decrease in length. Decrease in length. So, for example, the new member of this is the structural member after subjected to a load of magnitude 60 kilonewton compressive in nature, that is decrease in length or change in length. For our convenience, that is equal to change in length by original length. Change in length by original length. Before going to that, we know the value only L, but we don't know the delta L. For that, what we have to do? We know that stress longitudinally represented by sigma A, which is equal to load by area. Load by area. Here, what about the load? Load is 60 kilonewtons. Here P is equal to 60 kilonewtons, right? And what about the area? The cross-sectional area of the rectangle member is given, that is 20 by 30. 20 by 30. So we know the P value, we know the A value. If you substitute the P and A value in equation number 1, you will get the sigma A. What is the use by calculating sigma A? Again we know the relation Young's modulus E is equal to stress by strain. Stress by strain. Already the Young's modulus is given, that is equal to 102 kilonewtons per meter square. Right? And sigma A is also known. From this equation number 2, you can calculate the sigma A. Sigma A is equal to stress by strain, stress by Young's modulus E. Again, we know the EA is equal to delta L by L. From this, you can calculate the delta L also. You can calculate the sigma A. You can calculate the sigma A, and from that you can calculate the delta L. Why? What we have to calculate? Already the examiner or in a particular problem determine the changes in the length on the sides of the bar. That is the first case. So from this equation number 3, you can calculate the delta L. Since you know the epsilon A, you know the L, from that you can calculate the delta L. Coming to the next case, that is change in breadth and height. Change in breadth and height. Change in breadth and height. As we know that the Poisson's ratio nu is equal to the ratio of the lateral strain to the longitudinal strain. Already we know the longitudinal strain. Therefore, lateral strain particularly, that is represented by delta B by B. Delta B by B. Here we know that is equal to initially nu into epsilon into longitudinal strain. So from this equation you can calculate the delta B also. Delta B also. Then go for the change in height, that is equal to delta H by H, that is equal to change in or lateral strain, that is again, for example, that is equal to nu into epsilon into longitudinal strain. From these all equations, you can calculate the delta L and delta B and delta H. Here only one thing is to remember. One is the Poisson's ratio, that is new. The relation between the lateral strain and longitudinal strain. The Poisson's ratio is the ratio of lateral strain to longitudinal strain. In a particular problem, directly you don't know the longitudinal strain, that is delta L by L. We don't know the delta L. If you know the delta L, you can find out. You know only L. That's why you are unable to find out the strain axially, that is called as longitudinal strain. For that, we use the stress strain relation. For that, initially we calculate the longitudinal stress, that is sigma A is equal to P by A. We know the load, that is 60 kilonewtons. We know the cross-sectional area, that is 30 by 30. And you know the relation Young's modulus E is equal to stress by strain axially. Finally, you know the E as well as the sigma A. From that, you can calculate the epsilon A. Epsilon A is equal to delta L by L. Then you can calculate the delta L. Coming to the next one, again using the first equation, that is the relation or Poisson's ratio. Again you can calculate the delta B by B or delta B as well as delta H. So then go for the bars of various cross sections. In the experimentation, just we considered a bar of uniform cross section. As per the human desire or the functionally, the bars are made up of different cross sectional areas subjected to the particular load as shown in figure. Say the total length of the bar is assumed as capital L. The total length of the bar is assumed as capital L. For example, this is the capital L. It is divided into n number of pieces of lengths L1 to Ln with the different cross-sectional areas. Say the diameter of the first one is D1. The diameter of the second portion is D2. The diameter of the third step is D3. The diameter of the fourth step is D4. And so on. The diameter of the nth is Dn. What we have to calculate? You have to calculate the stress in each and every member, say as portion. The first portion is AB. Say the first portion is AB. The second portion is BC. Third portion is CD. And fourth portion is DE, EF and EN. What we have to calculate? We have to calculate the stress and strain in each portion subjected to an applied load P tensile in nature as shown in figure. Here only one point is the key point, which is very important one. We have to remember that one. What is that one is? That is the P. I think that P is same. P is same for the portion AB, for the portion BC, CD, DE, EF and N. Keep it in mind. But the cross-sectional areas are not same. Definitely the stress is not same and the strain is also not same. So the applied load acting on the each portion is same, but the stress is not the same. For example, I think that the stress in the first member or first portion AB definitely becomes P by 5 by 4 D1 square. Similarly, the stress in the second portion BC becomes P by 5 by 4 D2 square. Similarly, the stress in the last portion definitely becomes, that is becomes Fn would be P by 5 by 4 Dn square. Though the load is same on each portion, but the stress is not same on the each portion. since the D1, D2 and Dn are not the same. Definitely. So note down the point. Each section of the bar is subjected to the same force P. Same force P. Keep it in mind. Same force P. But even though the force is same, but the stress is not same because the diameter is not same. While solving the problem, you have to keep the 2 points only. One is the force P is same for all the cross-sectional areas for various cross-sections. Stress is not same. For our convenience, let us see the one problem. Consider a bar in 3 steps with diameters. So, let us consider, for example, this is a bar of diameter. Second one is it is 3 steps. What about the consider a bar in 3 steps with the diameter D1. With the diameter D1, simply that is 20. D2 is 15. Third one is, and D3 is 10 mm. And axial length L1 is equal to 50. L1 is equal to 50. And L2 is equal to 75. L2 is equal to 75. And L3 is equal to 100. L3 is equal to 100 mm. The bar is subject to an axial tensile force of 80 kilonewtons. Let us, for our convenience, let us say axial force is 8 kilonewtons. 8 kilonewtons. Determine the stress in 3 portions of the bar and the total change in length of the bar. So what we have to calculate? You have to calculate the stress in the portion AB and stress in the portion BC and stress in the portion CD also. For that, just I would like to calculate the stress in the AB, no doubt at all. That is sigma AB is equal to P by pi by 4. Directly I would like to give the value that is equal square. That is equal, what about the P? 8 divided by pi by 4, 10 whole square. This is the stress induced in the portion AB subjected to a 8 kilonewtons tensile in nature. Coming to the next case, that is the stress in the portion BC. So that is equal to, again directly the value is same. The applied force P is same in the portion BC also, but the cross-sectional area is not same. That would be pi by 4, 15 whole square. Coming to the stress in the last portion CD would be, that is equal 8 divided by pi by 4, 20 whole square. Its value is, that is equal 25.46 kilonewtons for the portion AB and the 45.27 for the next portion and so on. That is the regarding to the stress. Coming to the strain. As we know that, we know the relation Young's modulus E is equal to stress by strain. From that, Young's modulus is same for the entire material. For our convenience, stress in portion AB and strain in the portion AB. So definitely we know the value which is equal to something that is equal to 8 divided by pi by 4 D1 square divided by delta L1 or by L. I think that we know the length, that is equal, this is the known value. Here delta L by L, L1 is also known value. Am I right? That is equal to 8 divided by pi by 4 D1 square. Therefore, from this equation, so sigma is equal stress by Young's modulus E. We know the stress. Am I right? We know the Young's modulus. From this equation, delta L by L, that is equal to delta L1 by L1 is equal to stress by Young's modulus implies delta L1 is equal to L1 into stress developed in the portion AB divided by E. Similarly, delta L2 would be L2 into sigma BC divided by E. And then delta L3 is equal to L3 into sigma CD divided by E. So from these equations we can calculate the change in lengths in each and every portion. Finally, the total elongation is represented by delta L of total is equal to delta L1 plus delta L2 plus delta L3. This is the procedure to solve the problem of various cross sections subject to a force system acting on the body. Let us go for the next concept, that is analysis of bars of varying loads. That is very, very important. For our convenience, let us consider three portions of AB, BC, CD. If you observe the force system, a force of magnitude P1 acting at A is P1 tensile in nature, and a force of magnitude P is applied on the same body at portion B is again tensile. Then if you observe the portion BC, there is a compressive in nature. Then go for the last case, a force of magnitude P acting at D is in tensile in nature. Before going to solve this problem, better to find out the forces acting on each and every portion and each position and every position. For our convenience, for better understanding, so this is the first portion AB. So this is the first portion AB. The known value is P1. Keep it in mind. Then go for the next one. Keep it pending. We will see next. Alright. So next one is the third. The next portion is portion. The known force is P4. P4. Keep it in mind. For equilibrium condition, equal amount of the force is acting on the portion AB, same in magnitude, opposite in direction. So that is P1. This is very, very important one. Keep it in mind. P1. Whenever a force P1 acting at position B for equilibrium condition, so this is the next portion. Say as equal amount of force must be applied. So this is P1. This is the A. This is the B. Again, this is the portion B. It is C. I think that, keep it in mind, the portion AB is balanced by the applied force P1. For equilibrium condition, P1 towards left, the P1 towards right at B in case of the portion AB, in case of the left, in case of the BC. That is very, very important. Simply P1 towards right in the portion AB, P1 towards left in the portion BC, then only the body is equilibrium. Let us see the next case. that is third case. So this is the actual portion of this is P4. No doubt at all, it is balanced by the applied force P4. At C, this is C. I think that this is P4. If P4 is applied on the portion CD for equilibrium condition, this is the applied force P4. The actual force acting on the member is towards the body is P3. The actual force acting on the portion BC is towards right, that is P2. This is very, very important one. What we did, simply first better to show all the forces acting on the first portion AB and the last portion CD. For equilibrium conditions, you have to add or substitute the P1 on both the portions similarly. What about the net force acting on the first portion AB? PAB simply becomes P1. What about the net force acting on the portion BC? Simply that is P1 minus P2 is equal P4 minus P3. Keep it in mind. What about the net force acting on the portion CD? That is equal to P4. No doubt at all, P1 minus P2 is equal to P4 minus P3. Then only the body is under equilibrium. All of you remember one thing. While solving the problem, better to show the equilibrium condition of the extreme positions initially. According to the equilibrium conditions of the extreme portions, better to represent the forces acting on the BC in a particular case. Suppose P1 balanced by the P1 acting on the AB as well as BC. What we did here, for equilibrium condition of the portion AB, so P1 is applied towards right opposite in P1. Then for equilibrium condition, the same force is acting on the portion BC in opposite direction. So by draw the free body diagrams separately for individual portions, you can calculate the force or stress and strains in each member. What we did, this is the first portion. What about the net force acting on the first portion? Say this is the P1. What is the net force acting on the second portion BC? Definitely P2 minus P1, that is equal P3 minus P4. What about the next net force acting on the member or the portion CD? That is equal to P4. Once you know the forces acting on each and every member, you can calculate the stress in the member AB as well as the stress in the member BC and stress in the member CD also. Here simply that is equal P1 by say this is the A1. P1 by A1. Say this is the A2. P2 minus P1 or P3 minus P4 divided by A2. And what about the stress developed in the or induced in the next portion? That is equal P4 divided by A3 if its cross-sectional area is A3. So here we have to remember only one thing for solving the problem. First, better to draw the free body diagram of the extreme portion, say here portion AB as well as portion CD. Then according to that force system, you have to draw the free body diagram of the rest of the portions. Here we have to draw the free body diagram for the rest of the portion BC. Once you know the forces acting in each and every member and its cross-sectional area, then you can calculate the stresses developed or induced in each and every member. So let us continue the next session with one numerical example regarding to the analysis of bars of varying loads. Thank you.